Welcome to another episode of Eternal Bliss Reading Circle. And today I am going to teach you the short story Salvatore, written by W. Somerset Maugham. I shall teach the lesson as it is given in your book, elaborating those points which are important from examination point of view. Now, Salvatore is a biographical sketch of an Italian boy who is son of a fisherman. Salvatore lives in the island of Ischia in the southern part of Italy, and the story has been written in third person narrative in the chronological order, meaning the events which take place earlier appears in the story at first, followed by the events which take place later. So let's begin with the story. I wonder if I can do it. So here the author expresses his opinion, like whether he would be able to do justice in portraying the character of Salvatore. So let's go through the story to find out why he has made such remark. Salvatore was a boy of 15 with a pleasant face, laughing mouth and carefree eyes. Please mark these words: pleasant face, laughing mouth and carefree eyes. So these characteristics tells about the joyful boy, happy boy that we get in the beginning of the story. He lies on the beach wearing next to nothing, meaning the dress he wears is very meager. It can be said that almost he is not wearing anything. With his brown body, dark complexioned body, as thin as a rail. He is so lean and so trim that he has been compared to the rail. As thin as a rail is a simile. He was full of grace. So though he is dark complexioned, though he is very thin, though he is almost not wearing any cloth, but his face is full of grace. He was in and out of the sea all the time, swimming with a clumsy, effortless stroke common to fisher boys. So as he is the son of a fisherman, swimming comes naturally to him, and all day he swims with effortless stroke, meaning he does not need much effort from his side while swimming. He throws himself into deep water with a cry of delight. So the simple act of diving into the sea causes him delight. As his father works in the vineyard, Salvatore takes care of his brothers, two younger brothers. He looked after them, dressed them before they went for the frugal midday meal. Frugal meaning meager. So the food that they had, that was also meager. So they were very poor. And as Salvatore is a teenage boy, he falls madly in love with a pretty girl who has been said that she had eyes like forest pools, and she hailed herself as the daughter of the Caesars. Now Salvatore's beloved, she also belongs to a ordinary family. She lives in Grand Marina, but she is very beautiful with her eyes very deep, which has been compared with the water, with the pool of the forest, pool found in the forest. And she has such high attitude, such air around her, that though she belongs to an ordinary family, she considers herself as daughter of the Caesars, meaning daughter of a king. And as per the norm of their village, Salvatore had to do some service, do some earning before he could get married to his beloved. And that is why Salvatore joins the navy and he works as a sailor in the navy of King Victor Emmanuel. And that requires Salvatore to leave his native village and go to the city to join service. And there he feels very lonely, and it is said that Salvatore, who once led a life as free as a bird, and now he is at beck and call of others, meaning whenever he was required to serve, he had to follow the orders given by his commander. It was harder still to live in a battlefield with strangers instead of a little white cottage among the vines. So, if we look at the two settings, they are quite contrasting. While his village consisted of the vineyard and he lived in a cottage in the vineyard, now he is living among strangers in the battlefield. So, you can understand the mental condition of Salvatore, like who is quite young in age, and this is the first time that he had been out of his native village and serving with strangers, that also in a battlefield. To walk in noisy, friendless cities and streets so crowded. So the streets were noisy, but again it was loaded with people but friendless. So among so many people, Salvatore, being a stranger, felt very lonely. And there he felt homesick. Like being in this foreign land, he constantly thought of his beloved, and while he felt so lonely, he wrote letters to his beloved, that also with spellings which were ill spelled. So he was not good in writing, but his emotional longing for his beloved forced him to write letters to his beloved. So he was in constant thought of her and longed to be back. Then Salvatore was sent to different places for service, to Spezia, to Venice, to Bari, and finally to China. And at China, he fell ill of some mysterious ailment, meaning the doctor was also uncertain about the disease that he acquired, and again it was completely unknown to Salvatore what he was suffering from. He bore this pain with a mute and uncomprehending patience of a dog. So here Salvatore, like he knew that in order to continue the job, he had to be patient, and he needed to continue the job to win his love, and he bore all this pain with patience like a dog. Now the doctor informed that Salvatore is suffering from rheumatism, a form of rheumatism, and that is why he would not be able to serve anymore in the army, and that is why he is being returned home. So when Salvatore gets this information that he is going to return home, instead of feeling sorrow of losing his job, he felt quite happy, thinking that he is returning home to his beloved, whom he missed so much while serving in the navy. What did he care when he was going back to the little island he loved so well, and the girl who was waiting for him? So here Salvatore was thinking that the way he was missing his beloved was also waiting for him with arms open, and he was very happy with this fact of returning home to his beloved and also to the place which he loved so much. When he got into the rowing boat that made the steamer from Naples and was rowed ashore, he saw his father and mother standing on the jetty. So As he landed in his native village, he saw his parents, and then his eyes searched among the crowd for the girl he loved. But he was quite amused not seeing his beloved among the crowd. But his family members, they were all like emotional creatures who cried and greeted him. And like this, 2 or 3 weeks had passed, but he did not had any glance of his beloved. And that is why he thought of going to his beloved's house to inquire about her and to meet her. And it is written in your books, the moon was shining over the placid sea. So it is quite romantic notion. The moon, it is a symbolism of love and romance, was shining over the placid sea, the calm sea. So everything was so peaceful, and the moon is also up there on the sky. So Salvatore was nurturing happy dreams with his beloved, and the lights of Naples twinkled in the distance. Naples was the place where he served in the navy, and Naples was now at a distance, means the distance which separated him from his beloved is now quite away. Rather, the moon is up in the sky. So Salvatore thought that this is the time for romance and loving and having love with his beloved. Then as he went, he was very shy because he was meeting her after a long time. Then he asked her if she had not received the letter that he had written to her. So after meeting his beloved and her family, Salvatore inquired whether they had not received the letters. Then she said, yes, they had received a letter, and they had been told by another of the island boys that he was ill. Actually, it is the letter which informed them that Salvatore was ill and would no longer be able to serve in the navy. They are very much concerned and bothered about that. The letter did make a lot of difference in their life. But again, they said he knew very well that now he was home again, he would recover. Now, Salvatore is of opinion that it doesn't matter if he is ill, he would recover from his disease. So, Salvatore showed the confidence that even the doctor had admitted that his ill health made him incapable of serving in the army, but Salvatore is confident that he would recover and he would work hard for his family. Though Salvatore was willing to work hard in spite of meeting the illness, but the girl's family, they rejected Salvatore for this fact that he is ill and he would not be able to work like a man and support his family. So they had made up their mind not to get their daughter married to Salvatore, and his beloved sadly was of same opinion. She also was not willing to marry Salvatore anymore because of his illness. Now here you see that if we look at this attitude shown by Salvatore's beloved, like they were already in love with each other. They were affianced with each other. Their engagement was also finalized. But as because Salvatore is physically weak and would not be able to support the family financially, so judging that point, his beloved rejects him in his love. So here Salvatore's beloved does not give any importance to the emotional attachment for her security in life from materialistic aspect was more important, and she decides to go with to face life without him. Then it is said Salvatore wept on his mother's bosom. Like now Salvatore, like a child, he cries on his mother's bosom. He was terribly unhappy, but he did not blame the girl. So here you see the greatness of the character. He was heartbroken. He has lost his job. He has met with rheumatism, and now the beloved whom he relied upon so much, she also leaves him at this time of crisis. Now, but he himself is very unhappy. He is the victim of the situation. He is victim of disease. He is victim of losing job. And though he is the one suffering the pain, he suffers the most at this situation, but he did not blame the girl for moving back. So there lies the greatness of the character. He knew very well that a girl could not afford to marry a man who might not be able to support her. Rather, he thinks that his beloved is quite logical in thinking in that manner. That opinion by his beloved is quite fair. His smile was very sad, and his eyes had the look of a dog that has been bitten. So previously also we saw that when Salvatore was serving in the navy, there also he felt like a dog. He had to bear the patience of a dog. And now it has been referred, Salvatore's condition is like a bitten dog. That means he is also mentally hurt and also physically hurt because of the rheumatic pain he suffers. But he did not complain, and he never said a hard word of the girl he had loved so well. So he takes all the defeat as his own. He considers all defeats as his own defeat, but never blamed the girl for making him walk the journey of life alone. He never blames her. Then a few months later, when he had settled down to the common ground working in his father's vineyard and fishing, his mother told him that there was a young woman in the village who was willing to marry him. So, though Salvatore meets with a number of crises in his life, he does not dwell on those misfortunes. He does not dwell on his defeat. Rather, within few months only, he gets to work in his father's vineyard, and his mother also, being very much concerned about his marriage, informs him about Asanta, who is willing to marry him. Now, Asanta is as ugly as the devil, and if we compare the physical beauty of Salvatore's beloved with Asanta's physical traits, so we find that it is quite difficult from Salvatore's point of view to accept a wife so ugly when his former beloved happened to be so beautiful. But Asanta, she assured Salvatore's mother provide Salvatore with some money to buy a boat of his own. And also she said that they can take a vineyard on rent. So working in the vineyard and fishing in the boat, Salvatore would have enough money to support his family. Now Asanta is also few years older than Salvatore, and she was previously engaged to a man who had died while fighting in the army. This fact that Asanta was more aged than him, that Asanta was previously engaged to another man, this could also provide Salvatore with some discomfort. This could also have been some reasons for which Salvatore was not willing to marry Asanta immediately. But after his mother's persuasion, Salvatore finally agrees to meet Asanta, And when he meets Asanta on a Sunday, wearing his stiff black dress, Salvatore expresses his willingness in marrying Asanta. Now, when they are married, they settle in a tiny whitewashed house in the middle of a handsome vineyard. So they are having a vineyard of their own, they are having a house of their own, and now Salvatore is a great big husky fellow, tall and broad, but still with that ingenuous smile and those trusting, kindly eyes. So if you look at the description of 15-year-old boy Salvatore, which we got in the first paragraph of the story, and if you compare the teenage Salvatore with the young man we see now, you will find that Salvatore is quite strong now. Now, this physical description of his physical appearance does not only speak about his physical strength, rather, it also expresses the strong Salvatore that he has grown into. Salvatore is not only physically strong, but mentally and financially too, he is a strong man. But one thing that we find common in the teenage Salvatore and this young man is his smile. When he was thin as a rail, at that time he bore that pleasant smile, and now when he is big, great, and a husky fellow with broad muscles, now also we find the ingenuous smile on his face, and his eyes are trusting and kindly, just like the boy which he was previously. He had the most beautiful manners I have ever seen in my life. So these are in the words of the author. What is most praiseworthy in Salvatore is his beautiful manners. So one thing you have to understand, like if we speak of our lives also, we will see that it is easy to behave well. Like for behaving well, anyone does not have to put in much effort. Behaving well is a choice. Anyone can behave well if he wants to. But we see that quite often people, they do not behave well. They may be quite wealthy. They may be quite good in a number of skills. But good mannerism, which comes at cost of nothing, people show negligence in having good mannerism. People are careless, rather reluctant to have a pleasant mannerism, but which we find in abundance in Salvatore, and which is so praiseworthy and which is most liked by the author, the pleasant mannerism that Salvatore bore. Now, Asanta was a grim-faced female. On the contrary, Asanta, grim, viced meaning faced. Asanta's face was always grim, and she looked old for her years. So she is more aged than Salvatore. She is more aged than her own age. And while Salvatore's face is pleasant and filled with smile and grace, Asanta is, on the contrary, grim, viced female. But she had a good heart and she was no fool, meaning she was quite intelligent. Though Asanta is not beautiful, but she was a dedicated wife, and the thing which any man wants from his wife, that is a devotion, that is affection and appreciation from wife. Asanta, she was profound in showing her affection and appreciation for Salvatore, and that is enough earning for a husband. She never ceased to be touched by his gentle sweetness. So Asanta had all appreciation for the sweet mannerism that Salvatore had. Salvatore's wife, she could not forgive Salvatore's beloved for her meanness. She used harsh words for his beloved, but Salvatore bore everything with a smiling expostulation, meaning smiling gesture. And then children were born to them. So now Salvatore is settled in life. He's having a family. He's having two children, one 3 years old and one little less than 2 years. And they are having a house and vineyard of their own. But in order to support his family, Salvatore, he went on his boat and he had to row for 6 or 7 miles. At night he caught the cuttlefish and then the next day he went to the market to sell them at dawn time. And he also worked in his vineyard from dawn till dusk. So we see that though Salvatore was marked by the doctor as inefficient in providing hard work, but Salvatore proved that idea wrong by working so hard for his family, rowing the boat, and also working in the vineyard, which required lot of strength. So he was no less stronger than any other fisherman, but unfortunately the army discarded him from his service for his physical ailment. But in real life and in real situation, Salvatore proved that he was strong enough to support his family and do physical work. Now, when he suffered from rheumatism at the beach, he smoked cigarettes. Now, this is not out of any addiction. You have to understand that though cigarette smoking is not recommended for anyone, because smoking often make people addicted to it and they fall prey to smoking. But for Salvatore, here he is using smoking in form of a relief from the pain that he used to suffer from rheumatism. So he smoked not because of any addiction, rather to relieve the pain of rheumatism, which which made him inefficient from working, which made him inefficient in leading a normal life. So to lessen that inefficiency within him, to lessen that pain, he smoked. It is not because of any pleasure or any addiction, rather to cure a more serious ailment, he used smoking as a way to find relief. Now when in his spare time, means while he suffered from rheumatism, he smoked. People who came there as tourists at the beach, they also passed ill remarks about Salvatore, telling that these Italian fishermen were lazy devils. But in the contrary, we know that how hardworking Salvatore was. He worked day and night, and when he smoked only to relieve himself from the rheumatic pain, he also had bad remarks from this tourist. They are remarking him as making the remark lazy devils. Sometimes he used to bring his children down to give them a bath. Now here again you see that how Salvatore spends his time with his children. Like previously, when he was a teenage boy, we found that he used to take care of his brothers like a nursemaid. And now as a father of two children, he takes care of his children. He takes them to bath in the sea. And the two children, they behave in different manner. One bore the thing stoically. He did not show any reaction. On the other hand, the younger boy, who was little less than 2 years old, he screamed lustily. So, and Salvatore enjoyed this small delight with his children. The elder one bore it with stoicism, but the baby screamed lustily. Salvatore had enormous hands and legs like mutton, coarse and hard from constant toil. But when he bathed his children, holding them so tenderly, drying them with delicate care, he treated them like flowers. So Salvatore's hard life demanded him to work very hard, and that hard life and hard toil for life also made him very strong. He grew into a strong, muscular man from the thin, lean teenage boy that he was. So, with age, Salvatore developed as a strong man. He is financially secured. He is strong enough to support his family, but the way he treated his children was almost same the way he treated his younger brothers, meaning his love and affection for his children were still delicate. He treated his children like flowers, and Penny laughed, having this delight, sharing this delight, bathing them in the sea. He laughed. His laugh was like the laughter of an angel. So that is most noticeable in Salvatore is his pleasant smile, his grace, and the most he's muscular, he's broad, he's strong, but more than everything, his smile, his laugh was like an angel. Now the author says, I drew for you the portrait of a man, just an ordinary fisherman. So Salvatore was an ordinary fisherman who possessed nothing. So there was nothing remarkable about Salvatore's financial life. He was a poor fisherman. He did not possess too many things in his life, but one quality which made him exceptional, which is the rarest and most precious and loveliest which anyone else could have, that was his goodness. Now, if we look at the character of Salvatore, we find that actually he suffered from many misfortunes. He lost too many things in life. Like at an young age, he lost his health. He lost his service because of his ill health. Again, he lost his love because of his incapability of providing service. Now, here, Salvatore was not responsible for any of the losses that he met with. He tried his best to win his lady love. He went to a strange land, lived with strangers. He even met with the calls and beck of the commanders in war, living his free life which he had in his island like that of a bird. But in spite of his determination and hard work and sacrifices, he was proven incapable of providing service. That he was incapable of providing service, Salvatore was in no way responsible for it. But he did face the setback. He lost his health, he lost his service, and he also lost his love. Now, this disease also caused him pain. So, bearing all this defeat was not so easy. And Salvatore lost all these vital things in his life in the same instance. At the same time, he faced all the losses that anyone could have faced at a time. Losing health, losing job, losing love. So everything happened to him at that very moment. But Salvatore showed lot of mental strength in bearing with all these pains. He could cope up with this situation. It was remarked by the doctor that he was physically weak, but we find that he was mentally very strong to go through that situation, and that also with a smile. Though the smile looked sad, but he did bear all this pain with a smile on his face. He accepted everything with a fair mind. He never bore a regret in his heart. Salvatore is a successful man and also victorious in life only because of his power of acceptance. In similar situation, anyone could have anyone could have expressed frustration and underwent anxiety and could have blamed destiny and also people around to leave him in such a situation. But Salvatore emerges a winner in life because of his capability of acceptance. We too in our life can prove to behave like Salvatore, accepting everything with a fair mind. We too can make up our mind to behave in a pleasant manner. So we see Salvatore as a didactic story also, meaning a story from which we can learn some moral lessons. So from examination point of view, the character of Salvatore is very important. Quite often question comes in the ISC examination regarding the character portrayal of Salvatore. So you prepare the character sketch of Salvatore, give importance to all the minute details, small details, the qualities that you got to see in your textbook. Mark down those words which reveals about the goodness of Salvatore's character, and then elaborate those points in your own words. And Salvatore is also easier to comprehend compared to other stories. So I think understanding Salvatore and preparing Salvatore for your ISC examination can be quite fruitful. Thank you for being with me. Bye for now. See you in my next class.